You ever have a moment where you realize in the middle of all the mud and sweat and broken tools that maybe you're not the one losing your mind? Maybe the world's just plain nuts. That's how this whole thing started. I never figured a scrappy pile of Colorado dirt would turn into the battlefield where I'd fight harder than I ever did in a burning building. But here we are. I got scars on my back, splinters in my hands, and concrete in places concrete should never be, all because I just wanted a piece of quiet. Let me back up a second just so you get the picture. I'm Roy Milner. 2 decades fighting fires in Denver, seen more roofs cave in and more families lose everything than I care to count. Then, one shift a warehouse beam decided my time was up, crushed vertebrae surgery, a handshake, and a plaque from the chief. That's it. Suddenly, it's just me, a compensation check, and the kind of pain pills you try not to touch if you want to stay sharp. No family waiting, no grandkids coloring on the fridge, just a half-wrecked back and this burning itch to build something that couldn't burn down, So I find this 10-acre patch in Park County auction land so far out, even GPS gets lost trying to find it. Forest all around, a dry creek below, no paved roads, just the way I wanted. I won it fair and square, sitting in a motel room with a busted heater staring at a borrowed laptop. Felt like a victory, more than I'd had in a long time. First time I walked the place, it was nothing but pine needles and wind, cold enough to sting your nose. I pitched a tent, then a shed, then started digging out the grade for the foundation. My process: haul, build, break, curse, repeat. There were days I slept in a van with a bourbon bottle for a heating pad. I poured every slab, framed every wall except the roof. I ain't stupid, and slowly that empty land started looking like home. The only visitors were the occasional tire tracks down by the trail. Hunters, maybe, or just people who liked to get lost. Nobody bothered me. I slapped a private property sign out front, more for the wildlife than anybody else. For a good while, it was perfect, quiet, solitude, my kingdom right. Then comes the twist, because there's always a twist. It's spring second year. I'm painting the outside a shade of blue that makes the trees look twice as green. That's when I hear the crunch of tires, a dark SUV logo on the door, Whispering Ridge HOA. Now I've heard plenty about HOAs, usually stories that end with somebody getting fined for planting the wrong color tulips. But I figured, what the hell, maybe they're lost. Out steps this woman, all angles and bleached sunglasses swallowing half her face. 2 others behind her with vests and clipboards like they're about to audit my soul. "Are you the owner?" she snaps. "Yep. Roy Milner." She launches into some spiel about architectural codes violations and permits. Says I'm inside their district violating everything but the Geneva Convention. I laugh right to her face, can't help it. "Lady, I bought this off the county. There was nothing here but old coyote tracks and busted pipe." But she's not fazed. Whips out some map, claims jurisdiction since 1999. I tell her to come inside, look at my deed auction receipts, title, you name it. But she's got a guy already snapping pictures. A woman tapping away on a tablet. "Cease all work immediately," she says. "You'll get a formal notice." Sure enough, by sundown there's a certified envelope duct taped to my gate, demands demolition in 30 days or I'll owe more in fines than I paid for the land. That night I'm so wound up I could bounce quarters off my nerves, but I know how to fight. Next morning I line up every piece of paper I got, deed, county map, notary stamp, scan it all, send cease and desist letters to their P.O. box with a little love to the sheriff and county recorder for good measure. I'm not about to let 3 clipboard commandos scare me off my own land. A couple days later, a county truck rolls up, building inspector this time. Says he got a complaint, wants to see my permits. I make him sit at the picnic table, spread out all the docs, and let him see for himself. He's got the look of a guy who's had just about enough HOA drama for a lifetime. "Looks solid," he says. "Honestly, shouldn't have even been a site visit. But you might want to call an attorney. These folks are persistent. That's putting it mildly." Within 24 hours, I get a letter from a Denver law firm, all ivory paper and fancy stamps. They threaten legal action and include a photocopied map that looks like it was drawn by a bored kid with a crayon. I forward the whole mess to Caitlin, best property lawyer I know. She doesn't even blink. Roy, this is boundary fraud. I'll pull historical records, but don't answer them directly. I'll handle it. And she does. I add cameras to my driveway, double lock the gates, put up a new sign, private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted. Bring a warrant. P.S. I built this house. I'll tear yours down first. You know, just a little neighborly humor. But the HOA isn't done. A few days later, my phone pings camera at the gate. This time it's county zoning and planning. By the time I get there, they're gone. But they've stapled a giant red stop work order to my gate and another on the porch. Unauthorized structure, do not enter. Now I'm steaming. I call Caitlin, who digs in deeper. Turns out Whispering Ridge filed a new map revision, slipped it through a quiet submission window, and suddenly their boundaries magically include my lot. Never mind my deed predates their fantasy by years. Caitlin pulls in a retired federal surveyor to do a forensic check, overlays, font analysis, metadata, the whole 9 yards. What they find, obvious Photoshop job, fake county seal all slapped together to look official. I'm furious, but not stupid. If they're desperate enough to forge maps, they might try something dumber. And sure enough, 2 nights later, I wake up to diesel engines and the rattle of chains. There's a bulldozer and a flatbed trailer, a bunch of vests and clipboards, and there's Karen barking orders like she's storming the beaches. Cut the gate, start with the fence line. I don't hesitate. I call the sheriff, flip the main breaker so the house goes dark, sneak up behind the shed, camera ready. When I step out, I shine my light and warn them 30 seconds to get off my land before you're zip-tied. Sirens split the night. Deputies roll in. Karen waves fake papers, but Nash, the deputy, isn't buying it. One of her crew drops a radio and you can hear someone on the other end, just cut the gate and dump the posts, we'll file after. Nash collects the evidence, takes their info, and escorts the whole circus off my property. Karen spits. You haven't heard the last of this. I just stare her down. No, but I'm patient. That's the turning point. Caitlin files contempt charges, criminal trespass, and emergency review of the fake map. The county court schedules a hearing, but then it gets bigger. The state attorney general's office steps in. Turns out forged maps touched federal woodland. Now the feds want a piece of the action. Things start unraveling fast. Trail cameras catch a break-in. Turns out it's Karen's nephew and some friends sent to vandalize my posts. Their group chat, Ridge Oops, is full of pictures of my house plans to clear the squatter. Emails from Karen to a developer named Devin show a whole pattern fake map, scare the owner, grab the land. Not just me. 3 other neighbors are caught in the same scam. Courtrooms packed on hearing day. Karen looking like she swallowed a lemon, flanked by her lawyer. Caitlin lays out doctored plats, walkie-talkie transcripts, vandalism photos. The judge doesn't hesitate, grants an injunction. No one from Whispering Ridge can set foot near my place again. Then comes the real reckoning. State AG drops a 200-page report, deliberate racketeering, systemic abuse. Karen cops a plea, 17 years federal, no parole for 10. Her cronies get 8 to 14. The developers fined into oblivion, and the HOA dissolved. They auction off everything, even their silly branded SUV. I get a check big enough to finish my house and help others, but the real win legal title stamped and sealed. No one will ever question my land again. Thing is, stories like this don't stay quiet. My testimony hits the news then, a Netflix doc. Other folks, veterans, retirees, folks who got bulldozed by the system, start reaching out. So I build a workshop on my ridge, teach some folks how to pour footings, frame a wall, tell their story. Everyone leaves a little stronger. Me. I finally finish my cabin, my hands, my sweat, my story, no contractors, just some friends and a lot of late-night jokes. My gate's got a new sign burned deep into red cedar with a fireman's brand, private property, no trespassing, no excuses. But underneath in small letters it says, welcome if you've come to build. So let me ask you, where do you draw the line between defending what's yours and fighting for what's right? How far would you go if someone tried to steal your home out from under you? Drop your thoughts below, and if you've ever stared down a bully with a clipboard or built something with your own two hands, let's hear your story. And hey, share this with someone who needs to know. Sometimes the only way to keep your ground is to stand it.